Oh, hello. Welcome everyone back to another podcast episode of Energy Unleashed. My name is Suzanne here with my partner Kim.
Hello,
Hey,
everybody.
how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good. Yeah,
Yeah,
good. I always
good.
say good. What else is there? Like, I don't know. I'm looking at this gorgeous blue sky in Minnesota
There
finally
you go.
with
Yeah.
flowers and
Thank
grass
God,
and
right? And you look springy
oh,
in the background here. Yeah, it's that teasing week of oh my God, it's going to be gorgeous out, right? And then everybody's in their yard doing everything under the sun except the Worthleys.
uh,
My yard is the one in the neighborhood that everybody's like, are you gonna even rake? I'm sticking to no mow May though.
Are you? I don't think I can. It's too long. It's going to create problems.
Yeah,
Like, I'm going
I
to
think
be
that
doing hay, and at the end of May, it'll be like hay. Like,
no mow hay.
yeah.
Well, I really think that being out in the yard is a great thing right now. I just don't have the energy to do all the massive replanting and all that stuff quite yet. So I'm just not there. But
No,
I'd
me
rather
either.
run up north and hang out at the lakes.
You enjoy that.
Yeah. Anyway, I want to bring up something that is kind of interesting. This is kind of I don't want to use the word controversial because it really isn't, but I have a really hard time when people talk about soulmates and twin flames. I always feel like this is personal, take what resonates on all of these. I always feel like it feels like there's a romantic hallmarky spin to it, and that I've met my soulmate and this is my soulmate. I probably have an envy where deep down inside for someone that says, I married my soulmate or I found my soulmate. Maybe that's what it is, a human envy. I don't know. I've not really ever felt comfortable with that word in terms of how the energy works. What is your thoughts on that?
I honestly, um, I've only smut books, twin flames, like
Smut
soulmate.
books. Oh my God, that's
I met
great.
my soulmate and I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, whatever. I don't
Okay.
know. I feel like our contract is our contract, and either you're meant to meet your soulmate or your twin flame or you're not, I
Yeah.
guess. And that's later in life. Like I didn't give it really any thought before going down the spiritual path at all.
Okay.
But I do think there's something out there. I think that there's a soul connection with certain people. But I never was in search of my soulmate or my twin flame, not knowing what
Mhm.
twin flame is. So
Mhm.
yeah.
So I have a problem with it in that when I work in energy, I'm very logical in how my brain works. I kind of pull in my old corporate head a lot to make sure that the flow of the energy goes through the corporate structure. It reminds me oftentimes of the corporate ladder and how it fractals and fractals and fractals and goes down. And starting at that source energy, infinite God source, and fractals into embodiments. And I also study a lot of the universal laws, and the law of gender is one of them. The law of gender meaning the law of the principles of, male and female coming together to complete something. So when I hear somebody take that on a conversation of romanticism or even relationships, my head kind of goes back to, yeah, but we're supposed to be complete in our own individualized body in male and female ourselves, right hand side of our body being male, energy left being female, and our sacred marriage of self brings us together in terms of being a complete so-called embodiment. And then we can lovingly go to someone else and embrace their completeness, which only makes it more complete, etc. So I always go back to how the energy flows in those charts in my head and go, well, it's not about romance, it's about the balance, right?
Mhm.
It's about the balance. And so does that mean that there's a twin flame or a soul mate out there? And I want to like break these down for a minute. So when I say twin flame, I always think male, female. I come together. So again, that's what I just said. Hierogamic, sacred marriage of one, male and female. When we're talking about structures in the hologram, there's off in every ray or every frequency, there is a male version and a female version. There's a Christos and a Sophia, which is the child of the Mother God, Father God. It is a balance, right? So every time we have a this and a that, we have a god and a goddess, we have a yin and a yang. We do have that embodiment in an energy in the hologram. And so does that mean that I'm down here on planet trying to find my soul flame or my twin flame? I don't agree that that's why we're here. I think that that's in the structure up here. But maybe I'm just being anti-Hallmark romantic. I don't know. Does that make sense to you that I see it in that regard? That it's
Yeah,
more the
well, it does
structure?
because it never made sense to me that I like searching for that. I guess
Yeah.
I was like, wait, I'm more of a who I meet and who I'm compatible with, I guess is it was meant to be, but I wasn't looking for it, I guess,
Yeah.
and so that makes sense that we're here to work on ourselves. The more that we work on ourselves, the better everything is beyond that, right? Like,
Well, and more like complimentary instead of you finish me or you fill
yeah,
me,
you
right?
complete me. Yeah, you
Yeah,
said
good old
it. Yeah.
Tom Cruise. What do it, well, who was the girl on there? Got Tom Cruise and what was her name?
Uh, uh, she was in Bridget Jones. What's her name?
Bridget Jones. Yeah, that chick. You
What's her name?
complete me. And when she
Yeah.
said that, that just took everybody down a road of, go find the person that
Yeah.
completes you. And it was
Yeah.
probably one of the worst lines in a movie. But I think that that twin flame thing is the gender principle for me, very much about the balance of male and female. And again, work on your own in terms of that balance as well as my always suggestion as a practitioner. But if we take this further now and unleash it a little bit and go to the next so-called version of it, which would be my soul mate.
Mhm.
And a lot of people will use these interchangeably. My twin soul, my twin mate, my soul flame, my soul, and so they'll use them interchangeably. For me, again, in the structure, a soul mate is something different in terms of if I go higher on that chart again, if I go bigger from Suzanne being an embodiment of my higher self, my soul. Okay, my soul is above me with all, let's say this is the nucleus of my soul, and these are all my other lifetimes. Okay. I may indeed have had a relationship with someone from my even higher soul family or soul group in a relationship in one of these lifetimes that I feel that, oh, now in this lifetime, I feel like I've know you. I feel like I have unfinished business with you. I feel like, so this is, in my opinion, a karmic return from a soul experience in a past life. It can oftentimes feel like I need to finish that work or I have to be with you. Or come hell or high water, we're going to have this, this unbelievably perfect, wonderful, wild, tumultuous relationship. Because usually when I find these in clients and they feel like they found their soulmate from another life, it's usually pretty traumatic. It's usually wicked, crazy sexual energy, but really volatile. It's usually really non-healthy in terms of having a symbiotic relationship. These are the ones that I'm seeing. I'm only talking from my understanding as a practitioner. Maybe others have other experiences, but oftentimes these are unfinished business from other lifetimes that it isn't necessarily my soul mate. It's a karmic return on something that wasn't finished. And I
Ugh.
feel drawn to you. And oftentimes, like I said, it's very volatile and very sexual and very heightened, and it feels there's a huge sense of urgency. So to me, that version is then a past life one where that he or her went over here and incarnated, and I came down here and incarnated, and we come across each other here.
Oh
Okay.
my gosh, because that karmic business, it can
It
go
can be
so many,
tough.
yeah, and go so many ways. And that makes a lot of sense in that you would be attracted to take care of that karmic piece that you need to get through and release.
And
Is that what
oftentimes,
happens when they get together? To like
yeah, a
you
lot of
say,
times they'll work through that karma, and other times they'll just exacerbate the same mess that they were in the first place because it's volatile and it's still just playing out the same old because no one's doing their work.
right.
So I bring these up because a lot of times people will find themselves thinking, I have to find that person, or gosh, if I do find that person, it's overwhelming. And what do I do now? Do I toss my whole life out and go be with that person? Do I have to? I feel so compelled and so drawn to that person. And a lot of times I'm like, well, you're just finishing karma. So a lot of the times that doesn't end out so great because it's the unfinished crap that you came down here to learn about yourself so that you are balanced and you still haven't done that work. Do you see what I'm saying? So
Well,
you're
if you say a
coming
lot of times it's sexual, I mean, that's tough
tough
because
as,
you've got this
yep.
relationship and then, so how does, I mean, what do you do with that?
Well,
Like,
the funny part is sometimes you think it's sexual, so you're assuming it's sexual, so you make it sexual because there's such passion to it.
Hmm.
But it isn't always necessarily that. But once that starts, it can be great as far as the ones I've worked with over all these years. Great, great, great sex, but everything else sucks. Everything else falls to pieces. Everything, and you can't make a 100% relationship on sex. We all know that.
Hmm.
So the sex confuses everybody because the sex, especially if I was a sexual partner before, can be very memorable. It can be very comfortable. It can be very much like, this is my home, this is my place, this is my person. But everything else I haven't done my work on, so therefore it's all skewed. And so this can be really, really messy. Then I want to throw in another whole version and unleash this even a little bit more in terms of sometimes now you can meet somebody that isn't necessarily hot, passionate sex, but you are so incredibly drawn to them because they are a what you would feel like they complete your soul. Again, my soulmate. But this is actually coming from your soul pod level as a fractalized version of that soul pod, meaning I'm going to give names to it. So Jim comes down here and becomes Jim, and Jane comes down here and becomes Jane, but Jane and Jim in soul are still the same being. But down here, they feel completely embodied as a Jim and a Jane. But when I meet you in person, I feel so comfortable with you. I feel so open with you. I feel like you have so much knowledge for me and me for you. I feel like I want to grow with you. But oftentimes, that's because you're coming from the same soul frequency and just fractalized into two different beings.
Okay.
This
Mhm.
doesn't always have to be male and female. I can also do this with a female and female or a male male, not in a sexual relationship, but just in a relationship, meaning, God, I feel like I've known you my whole life. We do this oftentimes,
Mhm.
and we will find really deep friendships, ours included, where you just go, I just know that I'm supposed to be your friend. I understand a depth to this, that there's something there. And those, in my opinion, come from our soul family, or oftentimes even higher, our soul essence, because they've fractaled off. So in essence, I'm with a portion of myself in a higher version. That's why it's so comfortable.
Yeah, that makes total sense to me because I have that with several people. Like I feel
Yep.
like I've known you forever, and
Yep.
other some other people too, that it just so comfortable.
And
Like,
and usually it's spiritual. That doesn't mean that we go out and, go to knitting class together as much as you have esoteric talks about life and we know these things and you bring those out in each other. This is just a comfort zone. This is that soul fractalization because you're coming from that higher frequency of knowing and knowledge and wisdom of the, metaphysics side. So I want to warn too here, if you meet that person and you are different sexes, oftentimes people will confuse the fact that, oh, I'm supposed to be with you.
yeah.
But gosh, I'm married and I have, kids and a job, and I'm supposed to all of a sudden move to California because I met you on a trip. That gets very, very confusing for people. And in my opinion, again, most of the time, they aren't for you to have a relationship with as much as they are here for you to just reboot, rebond, reignite, remember, reintegrate. So I can literally spend, 4 hours or 2 minutes with this person and I can be ignited. I don't need to uproot my entire life
Hmm.
under the under the confusion of this is my person.
Yeah.
Okay. So these are really hard on people in relationships. We can get really twisted up about this stuff because I'm going to add in the beginning of the conversation. We throw in Hallmark, we throw in all this gushy mushy stuff that, oh my God, I'm so incredibly special. I found my soulmate. And then I think everything's going to be wonderful. And 9 times out of 10, that's not what this is at all.
Well, no relationship is perfect. So to put that on top of it, I mean, that's setting expectations that
Right.
what human can meet that. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
So it gets very confusing. And then the reason why I want to bring this one up at this point in time, in the ascension process, we talk oftentimes that the dimensional fields are getting less separated. They're getting more integrated,
Hmm.
meaning it used to be like layers and layers and layers of dimensions. Now they're kind of folding and collapsing and mushing together. And so we can do time slips. We can slip in and out of timelines, and we can all of a sudden, oh, I all of a sudden come across someone that I knew in a different time and space. and they slip into this reality of world. So it's not that they're jumping from some planet into the Earth planet. It's just a frequency shift that allows that alignment that, oh, wow, this happened to me in a really weird way. Years and years ago, I was at a metaphysical convention of sorts, or maybe it was I don't even remember. It was something like that. And I looked all the way down the aisle, and mine is so galactic a lot of times that I just saw this really super tall dude, and he was like skinny like a toothpick, and this really big head, and it was round and bald, and he looked literally like an alien in human form. It made me laugh. And all of a sudden I looked at him, and I looked at him because he did look sort of like an alien anyway. And then he turned around and he looked at me, and I looked at him, and we did this thing. And we were on opposite ends of that silly little show floor staring at each other like, I know you, but of course I have no idea who you are.
Yeah.
And he walked towards me and I walked towards him, and we both busted out laughing hysterically, going, wow, do we know each other from a different planet or what? And he said the same exact thing. And we giggled and laughed, and that's all it was. I didn't have to go out to lunch with him. I didn't have to, sneak off and have a romantic week. I didn't
Yeah.
need anything other than that interaction and that validation that there's a knowing there.
Yeah.
And I trusted that that was as far as it needed to go. So if you're having these things happen, trust your true intuitive inside voice that says it was just a meeting. It was just a meeting, finding your people kind of a thing. It doesn't mean I have to go be with my people.
Mhm.
And if your actual insides are saying this is your person and you need to be with that person, then consider following that guidance. But
Mhm.
just don't assume is what I want to get across.
Yeah, I think that's a great point because anytime I've heard soulmates, it's like you have to be together. It's the whole, and there's so much baggage and damage and things that can happen. And
Yep.
that, like you said, that it doesn't end up in a good place at all. That you might not even resolve what you're here to resolve in that situation because it went sideways.
Well, and let's think about that one, the volatile one, the hot sex one. You're so busy having the great, mashing of your auric fields, which is, by the way, extremely energetically important to evolution of how the energy works, but not if you have all the garbage on the outside that you haven't resolved.
Yeah. Right.
So if you're going into that relationship and hanging on to it just because the sex memory, cell memory, etc., but you aren't doing the evolving of your soul in terms of the lessons on your soul contract out here, you're just it's a push me pull you. You're back and forth, and you're exactly where you started, and it didn't resolve anything. So that is the person that really wants to take a step back and go, okay, I'm not going to go jumping into this. I'm going to actually jump into my work in terms of my own soul, my own body, my own crappy belief systems that I dragged into this lifetime, et cetera, and do that clearing. So then, and only then, maybe I can find some resolve with this person if he or she did their work.
Okay, and so a good like that takes you back, doesn't it, into twin flame? Am I imbalanced? Like with my male, female flames? Like is that working like it should
Right,
before you even go into something with
right.
soulmate potentially?
So if I'm really depleted on my female side and I'm a female, I'm going to be, way overloaded on my male energy. So instead of being visionary and watching out for whatever, I'm actually kicking everybody's ass and plowing them down because I want it my way, and it's
Mhm.
patriarchal and it's control, right? So if I'm so busy doing all of that, I'm going to actually gravitate towards somebody that has no control. I'm going to like them at the beginning because it's going to be like, oh, he or she is so mellow and I'm so go, 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 go. And at the beginning, that's going to look like, oh, that's a great compliment. And in about a year, I'm going to think they're a lazy, little thug and doesn't do anything. And why do I have to pull your load and this, that, and the other thing? So that imbalance in me is going to gravitate the person into my world that actually is my work to do.
Yes, exactly. All of this is goes back into your personal work.
Yes.
It's
So
so
the
interesting.
law of gender is extremely important. We don't understand that everything has to have a male and a female, but the male and the female even also has to be balanced within itself.
Mhm.
Because if the female is imbalanced, then I'm the victim. Woe is me. Everything's horrible. Oh my God. Oh my God. And the other side of that is I have to take care of everybody. I'm just going to exhaust myself. So there's that balance on either side of our body that wants to be balanced here in heart space before I even bring my heart and my body and my experience to another being. But, no one teaches us that. So we're
No.
always using somebody else to fill what is mirroring to us as a lack, right?
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh my gosh, it's so interesting to hear both. Like, I love that the twin flames are within ourselves and that we work
Hmm.
on that. And that's because male, female for me, I'm always like, "Weep, weep," like it depends on what's going on in my life. Am I in charge of making something happen, whatever, and I forget to
Hmm.
take care of the female side of my life. And but the soulmate thing, I just never really had any, you know,
Yeah.
whatever with
And it can
that.
be all different levels. Remember, we can have a soul, we can have a past life one, we can have a karmic one, we can have a soul family one, we can have a soul essence one. They're all different. The twin flame thing is really important in the architecture of our hologram because when we even have a god and a goddess, like a Zeus and a Hera, if Zeus is completely, balanced and Hera's balanced, those take a balance even within the balance. So, in the architecture structure, we always have a twin flame beyond my twin flame. So I balance, I hypermorgamic, then I find that twin flame so that the flame itself, the frequency, the color, remember everything's made of color, light, frequency, and sound waves. So even all of those waves need to have a male and a female. And
Okay.
within the male and female needs to be male and female balanced. So it's a lot of balance. This is back to when we teach it in Vibe Tribe, we talk about the hologram as like a Jenga game, and the Jenga game's pieces are all out. Okay. So if I have all the male pieces out, I'm sorry, all the female pieces out, we're in a patriarchal society that's like this,
Yep.
right? And it's wobbly and it's
Planes
horrible.
gonna fall. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's there, right? And so we start to put in those female things and it starts to get more structure and it starts to get more real and it starts to get more balanced. Okay, but that's also going to re-wobble the fake. If I have a bunch of fake male stuff in there, it's going to push out the fake and bring in the new. So there's a lot of restructure going on in our hologram in terms of male and female balance. That's why
So
we are having such a hard time.
when you go back to the twin flames, so your individual twin flames, we just talked about it. I get that part.
Yep.
But you said then as you go through ascension, is that when you start to connect or part of a connection of twin flames outside of yourself?
I think that it depends on what you came in as an embodiment and how you fractaled. I don't think that everybody does that at all
Okay.
until you get way high on the chain.
Okay.
I think that that's way up into the aspects of how the God source fractals. I believe that those flames that are the male and the female are even way above, like I just threw out Zeus and Hera. That's even way down on the chart. I mean, it's way up here in the aspects of the structure where we see that.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and again, a lot of those have been taken out of the hologram to make the wobble, and now
Yes.
they're being
Right.
returned by light workers.
Right.
And even in terms of embodiments, we have I don't believe that angels, for example, are male or female. I think that they're pretty much just a being, right? And but does that mean that they need a balance as well? Could be. We don't know. Who knows?
Right. Well, and then you think about like how does it work? Like you think about Mother Earth and that the mother energy is coming back in.
Yep.
So there's a balance going on within Mother Earth, which and there's a balance going on with us,
And Father
that's kind
Sky.
of going up. Yeah.
Father Sky is affecting Mother Earth, and Mother Earth is affecting Father Sky, and we're the cream and the Oreo cookie. We're the ones that are really holding it all in and together and changing at the same time. So
Mhm.
this ascension process is it's another triad of sorts, right?
Right.
So, and our body repeats that in a pattern. Remember, we have the physical plane, chakras one, two, and three, the bridge in our heart, and the spiritual plane, five, six, and seven.
Mhm.
So cosmic father on top, mother earth on the bottom, physical, spiritual, and then us right in the middle, right? So it's really all about heart space. Everything comes down to heart space.
Mm. Which we need to hit that reminder all the time.
And it's true unconditional love. It's not Hallmark sex love.
Yeah, right. Turn it.
Yeah. So again, take what resonates. If you truly believe you found your soulmate, that's great. I think oftentimes humans use verbiage that I just don't maybe align with as much because I'm really into the way that the energy plays out in fractals. And if you want to use that word, that's great. It's just like, my dead grandma is an angel. That's fine.
Mhm.
There isn't anything wrong with that. There isn't a right or a wrong. I just wanted to point out that I think people get caught up in a lot of ways with that expectation that this is going to be that wild ride of, oh my God, everything's great because I found my soulmate or,
Mhm.
my twin flame. And I think that oftentimes we can really lose our place with where we are because our head and our heart aren't necessarily talking the same
Right. You
language.
lose sight of your own self healing and what you should be doing yourself. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would get that for sure. There's
Yeah.
other distractions that are similar to that, though. It's like, I get it. It would be a total distraction from everything else.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
if you are so overwhelmed because that person, he or she just gets me. Oh my God, they just talk my language. Oh my God, my spouse at home or my friends at work or my family doesn't even talk like that to me. And this is the only person that understands me. That can be seriously overwhelming, right? That can feel like I just want to run off and go with you to Europe and never come back again because I finally found someone that gets me. And that's really, really quite
Oh, that's a lot of
enchanting,
pressure.
right? Yeah,
Wow.
that's enchanting.
I just feel like that's a whole setup for expectations that will never be met, truly met, you know?
Well, again, I just always say do your own work, do your own
Yeah.
work. Don't ever listen to the Tom Cruise line. So it's just really a Renee Zellweger, isn't that?
Zellweger. That's it. I
It
could see
does
her
pop
face.
out of the brain by the end of the podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, good old Renee, You Complete Me is just so unethical to me to allow someone to come in and complete that because you're always going to be resentful and you're always going to be empty to some certain point because it's an energy transference instead of a true loving unconditional sharing. So just a thought.
Oh my gosh. This is a fun little topic.
Yeah,
I learned
little
a lot from the discussion. So
strange little tidbit to throw out today.
yeah.
Okay, well, as always, take what resonates, toss the rest. Maybe hit the share button, the like button, and subscribe. We'd love to hear more from you. On behalf of Kim and I, thanks for listening and cosmic hugs.
Goodbye.